Hello, the creative team of Colors of Asia welcomes you and invites you to watch the next episode of our program. In today's episode, amazing, unique, colorful folk dances and the brightest representatives of dance art of Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. Have you ever thought of how many folk dances there are in the world? I think that to name the number of nations living on the planet is quite realistic. Then to name the exact number of folk dances is not an easy task. Many of them are truly the cultural and spiritual heritage of a particular ethnic group, and each of them is original and peculiar in its own way. For example, what distinguishes Uzbek folk dance? Of course, facial expressions, emotionality, and expressiveness. Besides, the Uzbek dance is full of sincerity, and it's no coincidence that dancers often put their hands to their heart, then direct them to the sky, thereby showing that they dance with all their souls. Indeed, in the multi-layered dance palette of dances of the world, Uzbek occupies a special place. It's special. You can talk about it for a long time, and no one will find the story uninteresting. Gulnara Musayeva for more than 20 years was the soloist of the famous Bakhor ensemble. Today, she is the head of the Department for the Development of National Dance of the Uzbek Concert State Association, and she kindly agreed to share her knowledge of folk dance with the audience of the Colors of Asia program.
В сегодняшнем узбекском танце у нас существует три направления, три школы, как говорят, как у нас принято говорить. Это ферганская школа.
There are three directions in today's Uzbek dance, three schools, as we usually say. This is Fergana, Khwarezm, and Bukhara. How do the schools differ? Well, first of all, of course, in costumes, movements, and character. Fergana school is one of the main areas. It was the Fergana direction that came at the beginning of the 20th century, somewhere in the 1920s on the stage. Before that, mostly men danced, and women sat in ichkari, because they could not go out and dance. So the dance was men's dance. Female roles were also played by young men. They were called bacha, and they were very talented.
Тоже исполняли мужчины. Их называли бача.
One of the most famous dancers who lived to our time, on whom we rely on the stage, is Yusufjon Kazak Shakarjonov. One of the first female dancers we can call Tamara Khanum. She lived in Fergana when the city had the name Skobelev. Skobelev was the place where dance, song, and music started first to develop in the region as a whole, because there was an army and they had a military band.
Танцы, развитие песни, развитие музыкальное именно начиналось с Скоблева, потому что там была армия, и у них был военный оркестр.
Since we remembered Tamara Khanum, I would like to say a few words about this legendary person. For decades, the talent of the amazing Tamara Khanum has delighted viewers around the world. To this day, she is called both the Muse of the East and the honorary mother of Uzbek dance.
Один, я считаю, из величайших людей вообще Узбекистана.
One of the greatest people in Uzbekistan, I think, is Muhuddin Kari Yakubov. He can be called the first Uzbek producer.
Дом собирает группу.
He sold a house, putting a band together that includes Tamara Khanum, and they begin their concert activities in the Fergana Valley. And she was the person who could enter the ichkari and select those beautiful, talented girls and invite them to their band. Of course, it was a very difficult period. At that moment, it was impossible to open your face, and it was very hard for the first dancers. There was such a famous dancer, Nurkhon. She was killed by her brother for dancing. Tamara Khanum brought to our attention her favorite student, Mukarram Turgunbayeva, a folk artist of Uzbekistan who since childhood loved to dance. She danced the Tanavar dance.
Значит, бухарский танец, он более гордый.
What is the difference between our three schools? Bukhara dance is full of pride, and if you dance like that. And if you're making these movements, you're doing it proudly. I mean, it's a proud woman. very proud. Movements are not soft, a little stiff even. Costumes? So the costumes itself was such that if you burn it, some pieces of gold still be in the ashes. It's all made of gold threads. The dress was unbearably heavy, and it was also very loose. Nowadays, of course, dance costumes have become so tight, not as loose as before.
Шарбачки, пишнабанд – это головной убор совершенно.
A pishona band, a headdress, a kind of headband decorated with gold sewing. Peshkurta is a very beautiful suit. There are stiff, proud movements and a lot of rolling movements.
Жесткие и очень много вращений. Хорезмский, он более...
Khwarezm dance is more joyful. There is more energy in this dance. And the costumes, of course, are very different from others. There are 2-3 legends about the Khwarezm dance. If you look closely, then during the dance, the dancers kind of limp and their movements are flirty. All this goes with them. And hands play all the time.
Ручки, то есть они играют. Одна из легенд гласит, что у...
One of the legends says that the Khwarezm Shah had a beloved concubine. And when he left on another expedition, he was gone for a long time, and at that moment his beloved jumped over the fence, fell and broke her hand, and she began to limp.
И сломала кисть, и она стала хромать.
And when the Shah came back, he asked where she was. And everyone thought, how can they even tell him the truth? He would immediately chop off their heads. And then she says, I will tell him myself. Musicians sit down and she says, play the music. And she started with these movements, as if limping and with hands like that. And dancing, she approaches him. People's artist of Uzbekistan, Gulnara Musayeva, is a unique person. She brought a lot of new things to the Khwarezm dance. Today it's different from the way the dance was in the past.
Есть еще в Хорезме, там очень много таких движений, да, вот идут. Она говорит, что, может быть, это, говорит, вошло еще... В Хорезме же было очень холодно. Вы знаете,
in Khwarezm dance, there are still many trembling-like movements. She says that it's quite possible that this appeared because it's very cold in Khwarezm, and people must have been shaking. In Khwarezm dance, animals and their habits are shown. There is a jerboa, there is a snake. Gulnara Musayeva says that Khwarezm dance has a soul. Here she got up and first the finger, then the wrist begins to move. Then the shoulder begins to work. As if the soul enters and there is ignition, the whole body dances. And the jewelry is completely different. They have coins everywhere. The dance is more playful, and there is a lot of red color. I mean fire.
Здесь и на голове, когда ты делаешь вот это все вот с монетками. То есть он более такой игровой. И цветовая гамма у них в основном это красное, это огонь.
It's important to know that Uzbek folk dance was included in the list of state-protected cultural heritage.
12 декабря вот прошлого года лязги вошел как нематериальное наследие ЮНЕСКО танец. Мне повезло, я работала в этой вот как раз комиссии, и мы собирали где-то полгода весь материал.
On December 12 last year, the Khwarezm Lazgi dance was included in the UNESCO Cultural Heritage List. I was lucky enough to work on the commission board. We collected material, traveled around Khwarezm. In 2022, there will be the first International Lazgi Festival, where we will show 9 of its types. Red, yellow is the basis of the Khwarezm suit, a combination of fire, sand, and the sun.
Это спокойствие, это скромность, это душа.
And Fergana dance is calm, it's modesty, it's soul. These are completely different movements. These are completely different costumes. Perhaps you can only see the most gentle woman in the Fergana dance. There are already completely different movements and all come from the heart. But every movement has a name. If you make such movements, then these are waves or flowers, a flower or a snake. Every movement says something. For example, when we dance Namangan apples, we dance and show beauty of our eyebrows. There is Uzbek dance, and there always will be, and it will always conquer the whole world.
Бровки у тебя очень красивые, бровки, ты хочешь сказать?
Because it's a very beautiful dance.
И всегда, и в будущем будет покорять весь мир, потому что это очень красивый танец.
Mahmoud Esenbayev is considered to be one of the greatest dancers of the 20th century. He's a dancer who was able to carry folk dance creativity to the top. His monotheater of peculiar dance miniatures had no analogues anywhere. His dances were dedicated to the culture of various peoples and were added to the list of world masterpieces. It's encouraging that today the work of Mahmoud Esenbayev inspires many young dancers who would like to repeat the success of their idol. And right now we're going to introduce you to an extraordinary artist. For more than 12 years, he has been the leading soloist of the Sultanate State Dance Ensemble of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and the way he performs folk dances needs to be seen in order to understand that it's worth a lot. He can easily be called an original, unique soloist. He has some kind of lightness. He very quickly understands any dance, any movement. If you show him any production, he immediately remembers it. And it's impossible to disagree with such an opinion. Yernur Karagbo is really a professional. Look at how easy he performs the most difficult movements, and that can't help but take your breath away. Our hero was born in China, studied there at the School of Dance Art, then worked as a soloist in the State Kazakh Dance Ensemble. In 2007, his family decided to move to their historical homeland. And already in Kazakhstan, Yernur received an invitation to the famous dance ensemble Sultanate, where he immediately became a leading soloist.
Бұл ансамбльге келгелі мен 12 жылдан асты. 12 жылдан бері маған берген білім.
It has been more than 12 years since I came to this band, and over the years I went through a big school and tremendous experience. When I came, I studied what I could not know while I was working in China. For example, I discovered the dance work of Moldovans, Russians, and many others.
Білім берді.
Speaking about Kazakh dance art, Yernur emphasizes that this is a big layer of culture. It's truly distinctive, diverse, rich, and still not fully studied.
Қазақ биіміз басқа ұлттан қарағанда ерекшелігі ұлттық нақыштағы.
Our dances are mainly based on the folk traditions, customs, and simple life. For example, felting, labor dance, or holiday. Kazakhs often hold toy, or celebrations, and they are necessarily accompanied by dancing. At the same time, each movement has its own language, word, and meaning. For example, a spring, or for example, a wave. A lamp horn, wrapper, mirror. All these things from daily life became the names of Kazakh folk dances. And this is not just a movement of hands and feet. Every dance has its own meaning, and we must express it to every viewer. In recent years, Yernur has declared himself as a magnificent solo artist. He does not hide that he's impressed and inspired by the dance miniatures of the great Mahmoud Esenbayev. And I must say that the solo career of a young dancer is a really amazing spectacle that cannot leave anyone indifferent.
Қытайда би өнер мектебін оқып жүрген кезде менің жанрымды мұғалімдерім шешті. Сенің жанрың құс жанрына келеді екен.
While studying at a dance school in China, my genre, my style was determined by my teachers.
Би қойғым келеді деп Ажар Ошыр деген апайымыз маған бүркіт биін ең алдымен бастап қойған.
They told me, your genre is like birds' moves.
Талай сахналарды бағындырып, талай.
You have beautiful hands, expressive rotation of your head. And one of my mentors, Ajar Oshir Kızı, decided to stage a dance called Golden Eagle for me.
Өзіме құс биі жақын болып келді. Құс биімен біраз деген.
And since then I have conquered many stages with this dance, won at many competitions that took place in China, and subsequently it became something close to me to portray birds. I have other dances in my repertoire, Akbu and Samghao, and I always get admiration from people, good reviews and gratitude. In 2017, I received an invitation to participate in the Bashkir television dance competition, Bayık. I performed Samghao dance there and received the most positive feedbacks and became the winner.
Самғау деген бидің айдың ортасында тұрып биледім. Ол жерде жақсы нәтижемен беріп, жақсы деген атқа ие болып, бірінші дәрежені жеңіп алдым.
Ernur recalls 2017 when he was invited by the head of the Sultanate ensemble, Gulnara Musayeva, and said that an invitation had come from Chechnya from the organizers of the 9th Mahmud Isimbayev International Solo Dance Festival competition, which is one of the prestigious events in the dance world, the participants of which represent 16 countries and 28 regions of Russia. And she decided to send Ernur to this competition. She wished him to return home only with a victory, and he lived up to her hopes and trust by receiving the main award of this event.
Сайыстан біткеннен кейін әділ қазылардың, сол жердегі педагогтардың, сол жердегі...
At the end of the competition, different people, teachers, dance specialists, came up to me, and they all told me that my style, my productions are very similar to what the one in honor of which this competition is held did on stage. That looking at my performances, some of them recognized the young Mahmud Isimbayev in me. It was nice to hear, and the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, personally handed me the main prize of the competition. When he enters the stage with a solo number, the spectators take him to cheers. Certainly you can say about Ernur that he's special. There are no others like him. He's the only one of his kind, and during each of his performances he does his best.
Қаражорға дейміз, әлемге танытқан би, әлемге Қытай қазақтары танытты.
Our famous folk dance, Қаражорға, is known everywhere. It was staged initially by Chinese Kazakhs. Here in Kazakhstan, this dance genre, Қаражорға, was revived and popularized recently. Earlier, local Kazakhs and dancers called this dance Buyunbi. In our time, it became popular among the Kazakh people already under the name Қаражорға. And it can be argued that it was not just revived, it took place and successfully became a tradition. I can say that with complete confidence. And it doesn't matter what others say about it. Some claim that this is Mongolian dance, some call it Kyrgyz. Our Kazakh Қаражорға is a completely different dance because the Mongols have something like this, but the rotation of the wrist is limited. Kyrgyz dance is like this, and all the blood vessels and parts of the body are moving during the dance. And this is our folk dance, Қаражорға, which is very different from others. Since it's popular among people, there is nothing difficult in it. It's very healthy. This is a kind of gymnastics for the body, useful for both adults and children. And I think that in schools, instead of the usual exercises, we could allow children to dance Қаражорға for at least 10-15 minutes and make it as a rule.
Гимнастикаға да жақын, буын-буынды қозғалған үлкен кісілерімізде, жас баламызда билейтін болсақ, бұл енді менің жеке ойым. Қазіргі таңда мысалы мектептегі осы гимнастиканың бір 15 минуттық, 5 минуттық осы Қаражорғаны бір дәріптесек деген өзімнің кейде жеке ойымда болады. Бағдат бауырымның
Once my friend Baghdad Sansizbai, who lives in China, wrote music called Khamshiger and let me listen to it. Actually, when I create a particular dance, I pay great attention to music, because if I like a particular tune, then I immediately have the idea of a new production. And when I heard this music, I immediately had dance improvisation on this topic. I imagined a picture of a young man with a whip in his hand, who is riding a horse along his native immense steppe. I know that in any Kazakh house, there is a whip. It's no coincidence that in the house where the whip hangs, there is no place for evil spirit.
Ендігі менің мақсатым өзіме бір жеке би шығармашылық кеш өткізсем.
I have a dream to perform my solo concert. I hope this will happen. But I don't know when yet. Then I have the goal to popularize and glorify Kazakh folk dances as widely as possible, so that as many young men and girls on our planet dance with great pleasure.
Наши.
Our next hero is from Dancer's Dynasty. Thanks to the work of his grandfather and his grandmother at the age of 10, he already knew exactly to what profession he should dedicate his life. Therefore, it's no coincidence that he probably knows almost everything not only about Azerbaijani dances, but also about the similarity of dances of Turkic-speaking people. Let's see the story of our Baku correspondent and get acquainted with the work of this amazing person. Dance is an expression of various emotions through beautiful, harmonious, sometimes completely unusual movements. This is the gracefulness, amazing power, and mental state of a person. Tahir Einulayev has been dancing since childhood. You might say he inherits it, since his mother, father, grandparents also devoted themselves to this art. Currently, Tahir teaches children and tries to preserve and pass on all the subtleties of dance skill to the new generation. From the age of 10, I began to study in the ensemble Joly. Then I entered the Baku choreographic school in the class of Humar, Zulfugarova and Leyla Vikilova. I finished my studies in the folk group and I began working in the state dance ensemble of Azerbaijan. Then I joined the army, and I served in the navy, and there I danced in the military ensemble. After serving, I returned to the State Song and Dance Ensemble where I worked for many years until the Philharmonic has closed for repairs. Due to the fact that the Philharmonic closed for repairs, we moved to the Rashid Beybudov Song Theater. And there I was invited by Yulana Alihishizadeh to the ballet troupe of the Song Theater where I continued my creative activity and from where I retired.
И я перешел в театр Рашида Бейбутова и до конца, до пенсионного возраста проработал в этом театре.
In 1981 was the first time when I went on stage. It was during the concert on the occasion of the arrival in Baku of the Secretary General Leonid Brezhnev. It was a government concert. It was attended by Heydar Aliyev and Leonid Brezhnev. I was a young soloist and danced with a girl named Narmina. According to the scenario, we had to approach Leonid Brezhnev and give a present from the Joly ensemble. That is a large teddy bear and a bouquet of flowers. I remember this moment for life because Leonid Brezhnev kissed us. I didn't know who Brezhnev was. When I came home and told Dad that at the concert I was kissed by some man named Brezhnev, my father said to me, "Do not wash your face till the rest of your days." It was one of the most memorable moments of my life.
То есть это самый такой запоминающий момент был, так как очень интересный и хороший момент был. Визитной карточкой каждого народа является именно национальный.
The hallmark of each people is the national dance. Thanks to the national dance, you can learn the character of the people, the greatness and style of the people. The hallmark of the Azerbaijani folk dance is the Yalla dance. Wherever we see the Yalla dance, we immediately imagine Azerbaijan. At the time, Amina Dilbazi in Moscow said that Azerbaijan was the first to announce friendship and peace of people with its Yalla dance.
В Москве сказала, что Азербайджан первый объявил о дружбе и мире народов своим танцем яллы.
Azerbaijani folk dance has a lot of varieties. Every district, even every village, has its own dance traditions, its own dance. For example, women's dance is very beautiful and lyrical.
Например, женские танцы у нас очень лиричные. Есть такое движение, где мужчина ради женщины готов на все. То есть у нас это называется, если они говорят, дахчакерем.
There is a movement where a man is ready for everything for the sake of a woman. It's called I'll give my heart to you. 1, 2, 3. These movements mean that you are ready for everything for the sake of a woman. At the same time, the woman responds. We have a lot of flirting in women's dance. And woman responds to the man. 1, 2, 3, she's hiding her face. That is, she looks at him and then she turns away. These seemingly small but very sweet details decorate the Azerbaijani folk dance. Therefore, these very movements that are inherent to our people are the movements that we can see in Azerbaijani dance.
Нашему народу, и именно эти движения мы можем встретить в наших азербайджанских танцах, в наших постановках.
Tayyur Einulayev studies the dance art of other Turkic-speaking people with great pleasure and interest. According to him, at first glance, these dances are very different from each other. But if you look carefully, you can find a lot of things in common, and it's valuable. Therefore, it's important for each of our countries to keep this heritage carefully and pass it on to future generations.
В казахских, в киргизских, в туркменских, в узбекских танцах у женщин большую роль играет мимика и движение кисти, рук. Вот у нас в азербайджанском народном танце очень...
In Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Turkmen, Uzbek dances, a big part in women's dance plays facial expressions and hand movements.
В мужских танцах у нас мужской танец...
And in Azerbaijani folk dance, facial expressions and hand movement also play a big part in women's dance. Our male dance is a warlike dance. It's courageous and majestic.
При дуэтных танцах чувствуется уважение мужчины к женщине.
But again, like in dances of other Turkic-speaking peoples, the duet dances have immense respect for women and respect for adults. There are also dances with different attributes.
Есть танцы с сазами, допустим, вот в казахском.
For example, there are dances with a pitcher. Other Turkic-speaking peoples also have this. There are dances with honcha, trays. You can also see it in other countries. There are dances with sazami. Let's say that in the Kazakh folk dance, they have their own national instrument. In men's dances, we have a dance with clubs, surkhana. In Kazakh, Turkmen, Uzbek, they also have a dance with a tambourine. We have that too. If we take musical material, then in dance art of Turkic people, a drum plays a big role. We have it too. If you pay attention in some Azerbaijani dance, the emphasis is made on percussion instruments, on nagara, on tambourines, on the drum. Therefore, we must maintain these similarities.
Поэтому вот это сходство, мы должны это сходство сохранять.
Tayyur Einulayev began teaching in 1996. At one time, he was the only one who studied pedagogical skills with the legendary Amina Dilbazi. And today, the once acquired knowledge he passes on to the others.
В данный момент я являюсь заведующим отделом хореографии в Азербайджанской государственной гимназии искусств.
Currently, I'm the head of the choreography department at Azerbaijani State Gymnasium of Arts. We now have 176 students from 1st to 11th grade. We work with them, stage performances. Recently, we had a performance to the music of Kara Karaev, Seven Beauties, the dance musical Our Village by Tofik Kuliyev. Our students participate in international competitions and win prizes. I try to ensure that children who want to dance study the history of choreography and Azerbaijani art. This is a must subject in our department.
Я, конечно, очень скучаю по сцене, по этим, по зрителям, по концертной деятельности. Но моя...
Of course, I really miss the stage, the audience, the concert activity. But my touring life goes on.
Танцевать, с гордостью представлять Азербайджан во всем.
On tour, I try to dance, proudly representing Azerbaijan all over the world. I try to go on stage again with my touring life, hear applause, hear the audience's kind words. Stage is my home because dance is my life. I can't imagine my life without a dance, without a stage, without an audience. If I don't dance, my students will dance. And when they are dancing on stage, I see myself in them.
А танцуя они на сцене, я вижу себя. Со стороны кажется, что танец – это очень легко, но танец – это очень тяжелая, но очень красивый.
From the outside, it seems that dance is a very easy thing, but dance is very hard, a very beautiful and necessary art. Dancing is prestigious. Dancing brings both a healthy lifestyle and beauty. Thanks to the dance, a person gets a completely different culture. So, I would like all children from a small age to engage in choreographic gymnastics and dance, because dance shows the culture of its people. Dance is a high and rich art.
Потому что именно танец – это культура своего народа. Именно танец – это высокое и богатое искусство.
That's all for today. You have watched Colors of Asia. See you next time.